respected Chancellor of Presidency University and the Honorable Governor of West Bengal, Shri Kesharinath Tripathi, the Honorable Minister in charge of the Department of Higher Education in the Government of West Bengal, Shri Partha Chatterjee, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University, Dr. Anuradha Lohia, my esteemed friend, Professor Sugata Bose, Professor Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, honorable members of the governing board of the university, faculty, teachers, and students, and distinguished guests. Universities must have convocations, and convocations must have convocation addresses by somebody who is described as a guest-in-chief. But convocation addresses must be brief. They must not amble like a quadruped that has lost its way. And they should not run amok like an elephant in rut. কিন্তু প্রথমে আমি ছাত্রছাত্রীদের হার্দিক অভিনন্দন ও শুভেচ্ছাও জানাই। প্রেসিডেন্সির ছাত্রছাত্রী হওয়ার জীবনে এক মহৎ সুযোগ। সাথে মহত্তর দায়িত্ব। The same can be said of being Indian and being human. To be an Indian brings with it great future, good fortune. It also brings with it great responsibilities to fellow Indians. And to be human, hominid, brings great responsibilities towards the home which we call the earth and to all its denizens. Sujog and Daitya are two things on which for a very few minutes I shall detain your attention. None of us asked to be born Indian. For that matter, none of us asked to be born at all. And yet we are here, inheritors of the best that the chance to live can bring, like sight to see, a mind to understand, and the sense to make of that understanding something beautiful, and to realize that we have this thing called potential, which in a person like Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak has reached the brim of the cup. It is in this sujog that we live, and it is in this sujog that we must find the fulfillment of our destinies. Even a person denied sight, like Surdas, found insight when he translated a high Sanskrit which said something like, I do not know Sanskrit, so I will be wrong if I quote it in full. But when Surdas heard the Sanskrit say, Mukam karoti vachalam Pangum, something like that. He translated into Prakrit, into his own language, which I am more comfortable with, in which he said, Jage Kripa. And I do not know whom he meant by that, whether it was God or Creator or fortune or whatever. He said, Jage Kripa, Pangu Girinandai. Those who can, by virtue of that sujog, can overcome being tolerant, to even scale a mountain. Andho ko sab kachhu darisai. A person of sight has vision, but the person of insight has darshan. So he was speaking of the person who has no sight, becoming not only capable of vision but of insight and philosophy. Andho ko sab kachhu darisai. Bahiro sune. Those who could not hear begin to hear. Gung puni bole. Those who have no speech find utterance. And then, in a remarkable foresight, added a new dimension to the Sanskrit shloka and said, Ranka chalai sir chhatra dharai. The common man, the common folk walk with a canopy of power. Now, all these faculties of sight, and of hearing, and of speech, and of motor ability should be seen as metaphors. Who are the hurt? We see them all around us. And they are not just those who have physical drawbacks, but they are people who lack opportunities. Who are those who don't see? Not just those who are denied sight, but those who are denied the gift to see and see through. And who are those who do not hear? They are invariably those who have the opportunity to hear, the duty to hear, but turn a deaf ear to the thoughts of multitude. This is the metaphorical totality of Surdasa's great utterance. I would like to come towards the end of my sharing of thoughts by saying that all of you who are moving out from the portals of this great university to the vastnesses of life should cease to be all these things the breakthrough, cease to be self-centered, cease to be short-termist, but much more than that, to make those who are not listening, listen. Who are the voices? Which are the voices? What are the voices that are not being heard? They are the voices of the powerless, the politically, the financially powerless. And who are the ones who are not hearing? They are the great financial, technological, and political dinosaurs of our time. They are those who have huge resources, huge bulk of power, but who are pursuing their own very limited and crude agenda. But they must be made to hear. They must be made to hear the voice of reason and the voice of the voiceless, of which the most voiceless is this planet Earth. I do not know why and how giant lobbies like lobbies of cement and tobacco and plastic are not obliged to hear. Why they continue
their rapacious crawl unchecked. It is to me a clear responsibility of the generation that moves out of a university like Presidency to make those here. There is no shortage of evidence to show that tobacco can have other uses, that tobacco growers can be employed in different ways, that tobacco need not go into the role of death and the wisp of smoke that it is today. Likewise, plastic. And I want at this point to say that it is imperative that all of us should do what we can to keep our immediate environments clean and hygienic. But to mop the floor without turning off the tap is self-defeating. To paint the cabin in a ship that is sinking is self-defeating. Unless the great polluters of our time, and I am speaking not of India but of the whole world, unless the great polluters of our time are stopped in their tracks from manufacturing without let or hindrance, without care of the consequences of what they are doing, unless we do that, we are almost obliged by concentrating our attention on the immediate physical neighborhood. I would also like to say that at this juncture, all of you students must not hesitate to call to order anything that you see which is inappropriate. But in order to do that, you must yourself be sure that the way you do it is also not inappropriate. It is imperative that those who come to seek justice come with clean hands, and the use of their methods be as clean as the ends in purpose. This means that when a university or a teaching institution, a research organization, or an organization dedicated to public causes wants to function in accordance with the mandate given to it, there should be nobody, either political or money, who should interfere with that organization. The interference of governments in the work of universities, the interference of funding agencies and corporates in the work of those universities is detrimental to the discharge of the responsibilities of such a university. And students and teachers must be conscious of this. But when they protest, their protest must have the stamp of credibility, and that stamp of credibility can only come if your intention is not protest, but your intention is protection of what needs to be protected and preserved and cherished. Do not look to political leaders for guidance. Do not look for college giants for guidance. Do not look to religious leaders for guidance. Look to your own clean conscience for guidance. I thank the university for giving me this opportunity to revisit this state and this city and to share my thoughts with people who I regard as my own.